Hello, happy Friday. I hope you're good. It's not actually Friday. I'm filming this on Wednesday, but you're gonna see this on Friday, so happy Friday. I'm here with another book recommendations. Another highly requested book genre you wanted me to recommend is classics. And am I personally an expert on classics? No, not at all. But do I enjoy them? Yeah, I love classics. There are so many that I love, and I have a big ol' list of books that I have here to share with you today, and I hope some of them sound interesting to you. So without further ado, let's get started. First off, we have to start with my one true love, and that is John Steinbeck. Now I know he's not everyone's cup of tea, but honestly, I have not read a Steinbeck that I don't enjoy. This edition, I have so many of his books, but this is just a bind up of The Grapes of Wrath, The Moon is Down, Cannery Row, East of Eden, and Of Mice and Men. My personal favorite from John Steinbeck, East of Eden, that book is honestly just a masterpiece to me. It is so well crafted, beautifully written. John Steinbeck just writes characters so beautifully. He just writes them in such a real way that you can't help but connect with. I feel like anyone can pick up his books and just find something that they can just grab a hold of and just love, you know? A Journey to the Center of the Earth by Jules Verne. I love Jules Verne because I feel like if you are a reader that loves fast-moving books, if you love action, adventure, science fiction, look no further, because A Journey to the Center of the Earth is everything that you could want in a fun, adventurous story. It is just, it's so delightful to read, and I feel like Jules Verne just knows how to keep his readers entertained and wanting more. I hesitate to recommend Jules Verne's other book that I read called A Thousand Leagues Under the Sea, which I loved as well, except that I know that that book is very slow-moving and there is a lot of too much information, too much descriptions in that book about the sea and about the world that I don't think a lot of people would really enjoy. But A Journey to the Center of the Earth isn't like that so much. It's just a lot of fun, and I feel like if you want a fun book and you want to get into classics, pick this up. I recently recommended some Shirley Jackson in another recommendation video, but I feel like I need to recommend her again. Today I'm going to recommend The Haunting, originally published under The Haunting of Hill House. For those that don't know, this was recently adapted into a Netflix show, and it was fantastic, but just be wary that the Netflix show and the book are completely different. This book is it's not as, I would say, as eventful as the show is, but on its own, I think that the writing style of this is just so enticing and it pulls you in, and we have our narrator that we just don't know if she's reliable or not, and we just don't know what is real and what isn't real. And I just love Shirley Jackson because she's just a masterful storyteller, and this is just one that I would highly recommend if you enjoy a good ghost haunted house story. Next up I have The Three Musketeers by Alexander Dumas. The Three Musketeers is absolutely incredible. It's incredible because it will make you laugh, it will make you cry, it will make you feel so many things. You'll be angry, you'll want to throw the book at the wall, but you know what? At the same time, you'll come back every time and want to continue reading because this book is just so much fun. I think The Three Musketeers is one of those books that will always be loved because it's just one of those books that you read and you're just gonna have fond memories of. You will want to reread it because there's so much that happens within this book that I don't know if you fully can consume everything on a first read. I know that I want to pick it up and reread it. And Dumas is just such a great writer. I love the bonds between the characters in this book and their interactions and all of the funny, witty dialogue that's in this. It's just great. It's just so great. If you haven't read The Three Musketeers, please pick this up. The Curious Case of Benjamin Button by F. Scott Fitzgerald, who wrote The Great Gatsby. Should I be recommending The Great Gatsby? We all know The Great Gatsby, right? So if you haven't read it, read it. It is worth your time. But also, Fitzgerald also wrote this wonderful little short story called The Curious Case of Benjamin Button, and it is about a man who ages backwards, okay? He's born really old and he ages till he's a baby, and it's a beautiful little short story because it's a story about life, really. I feel like reading this, I was so entertained and blown away because I'd never read anything like this before. I find it to be very unique and I couldn't recommend it enough. It's just one of those stories that has stayed with me, and I think a lot of people would really enjoy it. There's also a movie adaptation that stars Brad Pitt that I would recommend a lot. It's a great movie. The War of the Worlds by H.G. Wells. I can't tell you how much I love The War of the Worlds, whether it's growing up watching the movie adaptation with Tom Cruise or listening to the terrifying radio broadcast that I listened to in high school. The War of the Worlds is a classic story about an alien invasion and the world just being taken over by aliens and aliens just zapping humans and killing us all. And it's terrifying, and it's also about how humans, you know, despite all of this, despite being killed, can still survive. I don't know, there's just so many things about The War of the World that I think is so great, and I feel like it's one of those books that everyone should read because it's classic science fiction. So I would highly recommend it. And also aliens. I'm just a sucker for aliens. And then I have Treasure Island by Robert Louis Stevenson. This is actually my favorite classic, and this is just so great, and I think if there's one book that I want everyone to read in life, it's Treasure Island, because there's action, there's adventure, there's pirates, there's treasure, there's some of the most memorable characters in this book, and I love it so much, and just read Treasure Island. Please read Treasure Island. It's so good. There's pirates. Did I mention that there's pirates? Because there's pirates. Primum Punishment by Fyodor Dostoevsky. If you want a really great book that's gonna make you think about life and maybe think about how stuff is kind of meaningless at times or at most times, or I don't know, if you just want to stare at a wall after you finish reading this book and just feel nothing, I don't know, maybe that doesn't sound that great, but it's a great book. Like, it makes you think about so many things. It is such an experience. I can't even begin to describe to you what this book will do to you if you read it. Just please, I mean, I highly recommend it, but just, you know, like, take it easy if you read it. Another one of my absolute favorites, you can't really tell what this is because it's a pocket book without a dust jacket, but it's The Picture of Dorian Gray by Oscar Wilde. I don't want to say that this book is absolute perfection or anything, but it's pretty dang close. The Picture of Dorian Gray, if you didn't know, is about Dorian Gray, who is a young man that gets a painting of him drawn, and then he wishes to this painting that he can never age, and then he doesn't age, and instead of him aging, the painting ages, but because he did this, he inside turns into a horrible, horrible person. It's such a great story because you get to see how he went from this really innocent, young, naive character all the way towards this horrible human, and it's just one of those stories that is unputdownable, and I couldn't recommend it enough. And if you haven't read The Picture of Dorian Gray or anything else by Oscar Wilde, really, you should check this out. It's so good. Wuthering Heights by Emily Bronte. Wuthering Heights is one of the most melodramatic, angsty stories I've ever read in my life, and I love it so much. It's so good. This book is perfect for those of you that love romance, but that love a really good angsty romance, because there's so much passion and depth and tragedy in this book that it's just so good. I couldn't recommend this enough. I don't even want to tell you what it's about personally. I just want you, if you haven't read this, just pick it up without really knowing. Just know that you're gonna read this and you're gonna want to throw the book at the wall all the time, multiple times. Honestly, this book made me so angry, but I couldn't put it down. So Wuthering Heights is great. Frankenstein by Mary Shelley. Frankenstein is a classic that if you haven't read, I don't know what you're doing with your life. You need to stop what you're doing and read Frankenstein, because Frankenstein is also a masterpiece. Slow, burning, and I don't want to say boring at parts, but it's one of those books that again will make you angry with the characters and everything that happens in this book, and you're just like, why? What is going on? But again, it's one of those books that you have to read, and you read it, and then after you read it, you realize how great it was. You just sit there and you think, whoa, 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 whoa. That was great. We all know what Frankenstein is about, right? Dr. Frankenstein creates this monster. He doesn't love the monster. When it comes alive, tosses it away. The monster's angry, kills a bunch of people. That's our story. And it's just so good. Just read Frankenstein. And my last recommendation goes perfectly well with Frankenstein. Dracula by Bram Stoker. This is the classic vampire book that you need to read if you are interested in vampires, because it kind of shows you where things came from. This is not the original vampire book that was ever like first written, but it's definitely what has inspired so much of what we have today involving vampires. I will say that I don't think that this is the book for everyone. People will definitely read this and probably not enjoy it because they'll probably find it to be boring and slow and they won't really see the point. But at the same time, I find this book to be, though slow moving, it's also beautifully written. I love the writing style of this, and it's written in letter format, and it's just one of those stories that you have to read. You just have to read to see what Dracula truly is. It's so great. I reviewed this book a while ago too, so I'll link that down below, but I highly recommend Dracula. And those are all my recommendations for today. In the comments below, let me know what are your top 5 favorite classics that you would recommend to everyone. I'm always looking for more recommendations for classics because I always want to read more. I don't read enough. I definitely do not read enough, and I want to read more. So just in the comments below, let me know. But yeah, I hope you guys have a great weekend, and I will see you in another video very soon. Bye.